Space nerds, what's up? We got another Inside Star Citizen to watch. I'm actually kind of excited for this one, not for any particular reason other than that I just want to take a step away from the roadmap roundup. I don't know which videos are coming out about that, but we've talked about it. Star Citizen's got a new Inside Star Citizen episode to probably bring us some of the more content that they're doing for 4.0.2 and maybe beyond. Strategic reserves, I have no idea what it means, but this kind of, I'm getting like Dead Space vibes from that armor a little bit. I don't know if this is the new utility armor or not. Maybe we'll see during this episode. I love content. I love narrative. I'd like to see a little bit more of the physical items, you know, the weapons and armor and med pens. I don't know, new med gowns, sperm suits, whatever. Don't censor me for that, YouTube. Let's go.
Are you happy with yourself?
Over the moon. Ecstatic with myself.
Their armor was the same with a color difference. There was a mission where we told you to go kill slicer supplies that was the exact same when we told you to go kill frontier fighter supplies.
The data pads I placed around Stanton as well, telling you, giving you hints that maybe something was going on. I think this is a great kind of PSA to read your contracts from now on. Maybe I hid them a little too well. Sorry.
Are they explaining why we didn't get the narrative correctly? I didn't really follow that much. I'm not gonna lie, guys. I'm still not getting. I love the lore and the fact that that's starting to matter, and it's kind of cool that I'm starting to see some of the reputation reactions from the factions. These are the things that I was like super excited about last year that didn't appear. Now that they're kind of starting to appear, it's not that it's too little too late. It's more so, it's nice. But I still feel like I don't have the reasons to be involved in these outposts and these places, especially because like they took away some of the other local missions. I need reasons to want to go there, and normal missions with flavor text on top of them is good, but only goes so far. I think people have been definitely saying that. Like they need more voice acting and stuff like that.
By now, you will have realized that the Frontier Fighters weren't exactly who they said they were. Or, in other cases, they were exactly who they said they were.
Frontier fighters were specifically designed to show players that we can mess with their morals via this narrative storytelling.
I feel like players don't like to... I don't know how people have reacted to this video yet. I haven't looked at it, but I can imagine there's some people who are like, I don't want that in my game.
Frontier Fighters were the ones who staged the attack on Stanton, posing as slicers to cause an uproar about Pyro, to stage a war on Pyro to get rid of the criminal gangs that are there.
It was a band of mercenaries led by a woman called Amelia who wanted to start an attack in Stanton to drum up hate for Pyro so that she could get the backing of regular people to go and attack Pyro.
But that also included civilians, and that also included gangs who had no interest in threatening Stanton at all.
So this was a false flag operation?
Yes, this was a false flag operation.
And you fell for it.
I mean, I wasn't really trying to kill people, I'm not gonna lie. But I will say, there's something to be said about, oh, they have to explain this in an Inside Star Citizen episode, so it wasn't successful. I think the problem with this is that it's happening during a time when most people aren't playing. That's sort of the problem. So the narrative doesn't stick. It's not in conversations. It's not popping up that much. It's like still pretty confined to a small group of people. Unlike something like Jumptown used to be, or Xenothreat was, where the majority of players would at the very least understand what's going on just through proximity. This is a narrative that is cool because it's starting to mix things up and it's playing with in-game things like the outposts you can go to, but it's just not hitting on all cylinders because the rest of the game can't keep up.
Fell for it.
And there's probably something to be said about the writing, but I'm not the person to go to for that.
They fell for it.
They fell
but
for it.
You named it Maniac after yourself.
I didn't do that. Haddock did that.
But let's see where it's going
So
from
our
here.
next chapter in March is called Supply or Die. This is split into 3 parts of the event. This is where the CFP and the Headhunters are coming off half the heels of the invasion of the Frontier Fighters, and they're trying to resupply and rebuild to continue the efforts of attacking the Frontier Fighters. This event is essentially a one-shot. You have to play it in March, and when the next patch drops after that, you won't be able to play it again.
Dude, I know this is a bit of a thing of debate, but I have been waiting so long for one-shot events. In a game like this, it's not, in a project like this, it's not the best because it's easy to miss things, especially when things are just broken. I completely understand that. I missed the first part, Save Stanton. I didn't complete it, but I still think that we got really used to these supposed dynamic events, these global events, these big catastrophic invasions of a star system that would happen like every few months. And it's kind of weird. I think they should get into a state of being able to recycle missions into content that makes sense narratively and time-based, and just keep some new stuff coming in that uses maybe some of the same rewards so people can still go and get that stuff, but it doesn't require you go and replay the same mission everybody already did. I don't know. I think they're moving in a better direction here, but the game definitely needs to pick up to keep track.
Rewards. With this narrative arc that we're doing for the rest of this year, we're really trying to build these moments in our history where you as the player will come in and experience it, and then if you was here for it, great. But if you wasn't, you've missed out.
For this event, there are 6 new locations that we built, 1 on each of the major planets in Pyro. These locations are discoverable by quantum marker, and at these locations you will find these Outlaw Depots.
Did you say discoverable by quantum marker?
It's in Pyro. These locations are discoverable by quantum marker.
I don't know what he means by that. Maybe he just said it'll be on your star map. Honestly, it's kind of funny because we're at the stage where they're just going to toss 6 new locations into a dot point dot whatever patch, but this would have been a card on the release view back in like whatever year, I don't know, name it.
And at these locations you will find these Outlaw Depots. The difference between an outpost and a depot is that an outpost is generally a lot larger in size. There's various things to do at an outpost. It's like a little community that kind of is in one way or another
location
self-sufficient.
Archetypes.
A depot is really just an offshoot storage location. So in that sense, it doesn't have all the amenities for a local population or for the player as well. It's more.
So a depot is kind of like what we already have in Stanton right now. I wonder if they're gonna bring these archetypes over to the rest of the outpost styles. I can't imagine why they wouldn't.
Of like an offshoot location in that sense.
The depots see the return of the scavengers, the circus essentially. It was introduced with the ghost arenas.
So this is not a faction we've seen much about, but it's a faction that we can identify by green text and spray paints on the buildings.
Did not realize there was a new faction.
So as you go around the environment, you'll see that they've tagged it, and they'll be saying you can get big money here and go here and go here. This is where you buy it. Look
Get
out
that
here,
money.
take cover here. The location is one that they've taken over, and they've added their unique twist to.
You know, gangs like to advertise their business.
The Outlaw Depots, I think, are really cool from a player perspective through the way that it's a location that is really built for the interaction.
So this is, I think, a very good example of how content can feel a little bit fresh. I'm not going to say this is a huge difference from the Outpost, but it shows that they can still make more unique locations throughout this year, even if they're not developing new features. So we could, for instance, see a ground location that's maybe dedicated to mining. Maybe it has a place that has enclosed FPS minerals, and you just like go to some button, press a button, pay a fee, and they let you go in and mine minerals. That, I don't think they would do that, because that's just like the idea I came off the top of my head with, but that's not going to require any new features. This doesn't require any new features, but it still allows them to start to build the game out underneath us with what is already there. It's either the blessing that you were looking for in the stability and playability talk, or it's the silver lining if you were looking more for features and moving forward. But I think overall it's positive.
Provides a lot of cover. It's located in a more convenient, accessible way. It has very clear, distinct sections, so that helps hopefully as well for the players to kind of call out where the different people are coming from or where they are located. So it's a high risk, high reward location that is really built for PvP. There is an initial population at the location, so if you're the first there to show up, you might be a little bit careful. If you're gonna land in the middle, might be a little bit hot, but that's the right challenge that we're trying to provide for you guys.
The one thing we're not hearing about here is how they tie into the economy. I know what economy, but it would still be nice to hear these locations are actually placed based on where depots would be needed, maybe. They probably don't know that yet. Who am I kidding?
One of the first missions requires you to get a commodity called Datatrine, and there's a mission for CFB and Headhunters. This commodity requires you to go to these depots where you have to invest your own money to get this Datatrine and return it to either faction that you decided to go with. Datatrine is a rare plant that they can refine, so the CFB can use it for medical purposes and the Headhunters can use it for more fun purposes.
Elliot came over to the economy area and said, hey, I've got some new missions we're building, and they're a little bit different from some we've done before. So we worked together to come up with a fairly new reward structure specifically for these new missions.
Love some synergy, some collaboration between teams. Let's go.
The idea as well is that if you've completed this mission series and you've got your reward, you can just keep going. You can sell these commodities in the sandbox world and get quite a big profit margin. But again, your risk is you have to put up your own money, put in your own time, and risk your own life.
Sounds like we're going to make good money.
Again, both factions will require you to get 2 commodities. So they require you to get ice, which can be found on the extremities of the pyro solar system.
Okay.
So as far out from.
See, this is the release of a new mission type. They're not saying it outright. Maybe Jared will say it at the end, but this is the resource gathering mission that they were talking about, where they were like, yeah, we'll tell you you have to get resources and you find the way to get them. Because I bet you're going to be able to also steal them.
The sun as you can where it gets colder. Or tin, which is found closer to the sun, that can be stolen, bought, or mined and refined yourself. However you wish to get these, they don't care, they just want the commodity. And then you'll have a destination where you're asked to drop them off. And last is the...
Okay, but is this going to work?
A destination...
Dude, this is such a big... If you're not a miner, this has been one of the greatest holdups for mining in the whole game, is these mineral pods and their ability to be exchanged, sold, refined, turned in if they're not yours. And if they can get that fixed, that wouldn't just be great for this mission. That would completely change the ability for orgs to go and mine in sandbox environments, for people to call in other refiners or cargo haulers to get their goods while they're out mining. This would be great. Oh God, I hope they've got that. I hope they've at least got that close to fixed. I know there was some kind of fix in the patch notes about it on freight elevators, but I don't know about the ownership system yet. We'll see.
Where you're asked to drop them off. And last is the salvage mission. The salvage mission is asking for RMC, so that's hull scraping, or construction materials, so that's the actual structural salvage part where you have to fracture the ship. And again, both factions are asking for it and they both have their own drop-off points. How you get the salvage is, again, up to you. You can kill ships and harvest their corpse. You could accept the salvage missions and use those ships, or you could just fly about and attempt to find the salvage panels. The event is both PvP and PvE. It takes place in Pyro, so you've always got to have your wits about you. The Datatrine one that takes place at the outposts will have more of a PvP element because it's going to have more reward for people who are PvPing. The mining and salvage one are introduced for more industrial players, more PvE. There's not much you really need to do here PvP wise, but again, you're in Pyro, keep your wits about you because you never know who's going to turn up.
Okay, so I gotta say, I'm not huge on splitting gameplay up by the labels of PvP and PvE. I know that it's probably too idealistic this way, but I think things should probably be labeled as dangerous and not dangerous. Because we should be getting to the point at some point where NPC pirates are also pretty dangerous and like you don't want to see them either, right? Or even maybe NPC cargo haulers are the people you want to be attacking. And I understand why, people highlight PvP. It just feels like it should be more about the danger levels. Something else I'm really wondering about this is if we would be able to go and buy the materials, or even just acquire the materials that they're asking for in Stanton and then bring them to Pyro. Because there are a lot of people who don't want to do anything in Pyro, but if there was the chance of somehow more easily getting these materials in Stanton and then having an armed escort bring them through to Pyro, even if it's not as economically viable, it could still create gameplay through this event for people who don't want to go to Pyro. That'd be the sandbox solution. Ice and Tin might only be in Pyro itself, but RMC and construction materials, maybe you could do it some other way, I don't know.
PvP wise, but again, you're in Pyro, keep your wits about you, because you never know who's going to turn up.
Yeah, that being said, a lot of Pyro is pretty safe. You can play there for a while without dying.
Is that they're designed to encourage group play. There's nothing stopping you doing it solo. You can absolutely do it solo, although obviously in Pyro you have to take appropriate precautions if you're playing solo. But each of these missions, if you can get together a group of friends to help out, you will probably find that it will be more successful.
Did you unfix that terrible fix that you did last patch?
The initial design of EVR has been fairly successful, but it definitely has areas it needs to be improved with, and one of those areas is enabling group play instead of suppressing group play. And the design intention is to move away from reward splitting. So with that in mind, we're taking steps towards that, and these missions and the way that the rewards are structured for these missions is a good indication of that design intention.
Wait, people hate that, right? I haven't put a ton of thought into this topic because I don't do a lot of group play. I mean, we do probably maybe once a week, twice a week, but I'm thinking when we get paid out for contracts, there probably needs to be a way for us to forward some of the payout to other people for the services they give us. I don't know how that would work though. Like the payouts for these kinds of things is going to be really difficult. At the end of the day, it probably should come down to the players, but those payouts shouldn't be taxed by UEE if we're just like handing out some of the money we did on a job. I don't know. I'm gonna have to think about this and then listen to all the arguments popping up in the comments. This should be interesting.
So with all this, the mission reward system is changing, right?
The rewards that you will get will scale with the size of the group that we expect for each mission. So the small missions are designed for solo players, the medium missions are designed for around 4 to 5 to 6 players, and the large missions are designed for 10 and above players. And in subsequent patches, the rewards will scale dynamically to the group that you have. And depending on the mission type that you're doing, whether it's the salvage or the mining or the debtor-trine, your rewards will scale accordingly. Bear in mind that for the debtor-trine missions, you have to put up the money to buy the commodity, and you will be rewarded enough to compensate you for what you've bought and a little bit extra. The other thing to bear in mind is that all of these missions have a secondary reward mechanic, which is that you are working to get tickets so that you can get the unique rewards, which you can only get during this mission, during this month, and then they will never be offered again.
It's like the redemption at Chuck E. Cheese.
I honestly love what they're doing. I'm gonna have to listen to that whole segment again. I'm not gonna make you guys sit through it right now. Scaling the rewards for the size of the party makes sense for me game-wise. I think that is like, you want to encourage people to play together, give them more money for doing so. But it's also kind of like, if you're really, really good at the game, you should still be able to get as much money as a group of people who can't do as well as you. I don't know. There's a lot of, maybe we'll have a podcast episode about this because it's a lot.
I don't understand the reference, but okay.
Wait, what was the reference? Oh, the Chuck E. Cheese's.
Redemption at Chuck E. Cheese.
I don't understand the reference, but okay.
I'm an American lost in Britain.
Wait, I thought Chuck E. Cheese's was known across the galaxy. What? It's not, it's only, oh no, that's okay. I wouldn't go there again either. It's like one of those childhood things that we did, and then we're like, okay, we can move on to better things now.
With our plans for this whole year of more of a content-driven releases and more of a narrative storyline, as Dave previously talked about with the A and B stories. The idea is that these missions will tie into that. The side that you choose to work with will have a lasting impact. The choices you make will define the universe that you live in. And the really cool thing about Supply or Die is because of the 3 different mission types we offer you, you can get all of the rewards without ever firing a shot. And that's really exciting.
You just gotta find somebody to fire the shots for you. And we need those social systems to do that.
And as one chapter of the continuing fight for Pyro closes, another begins with Alpha 402 Supply or Die. But if you didn't get a chance to finish the February missions, we've extended them through to the end of March. So there's still time to choose your allegiances and secure the future that Pyro deserves. For Inside Star Citizen, I'm Jared Huckabee. Thanks for letting us share the people and process of game development with you. And we'll see you all here next week on Star Citizen Live.
Dude, these episodes are running lean. Like, there is a definitive difference about the way that they're delivering this stuff. I don't know, are they still doing the monthly reports for Squadron, or is that just a newsletter? Because I get this strong feeling that a lot of feature stuff is going on, a lot of feature polishment, development. There's a lot of people working at this company right now, and we're seeing work coming from a very small amount of those people, but that's just because we're looking at 4.0.2. We know what's coming in 4.1, and I think we could probably discern a couple more things that are coming throughout the rest of the year, but there's a lot of stuff going on that they're not talking about. Let's see what happens with the monthly report coming out next week. I think it's just a whole bunch of Squadron taking up all the oxygen in the room again, and that ain't great a year after expecting that to go. But the stuff that they are delivering with content, I think this is really good for players to be able to interact with the game. It's not anything crazy new or out of this world. We're not seeing any major voice acting or story hits. It's not like incredibly thorough, deep writing that you would expect from a main storyline, but I think it's enough to try and carry the game through patches as you add a little bit of extra content here and there, and like keep something interesting for people to follow along on. I don't think this is going to do as well as the normal hype cycle of features and patches, but I think this will do better than if they just tried to kind of scale back and not fill it with something else. So we'll see how it goes. But this was the latest Inside Star Citizen. I'll see you on something else probably sometime soon. Until then, thanks for coming.